Okay, so yesterday I watched the last 4 episodes of Symphogear AXZ. So I went into them very optimistic, very excited. It's a Symphogear season finale. It's like usually episode 11 is like when the climax really starts, and this one was no exception. Still some cool shit in episode 10, but episode 11 is when it really kicked into gear. But given what happened in GX, and again, maybe it's just me personally, but I felt like GX was probably the least exciting season finale. And a lot of that was because while Carol was doing really cool shit, I felt like I'd kind of seen her do most of that cool shit earlier in the season. And even her big Symphogear end of season transformation to the giant Zoid thing was cool, but it wasn't nearly as cool as the previous 2 seasons. And so I was like, this is still good. It's still cool. I'm feeling kind of underwhelmed. And as excited as I am to marathon, the end of season 4, I hope I'm not a little bit disappointed the way I was with season 3. And I'm happy to say, all of my caution, all of my wariness was completely unfounded. This might be the best season finale. I don't know if I can say that for sure. I would put it ahead of season 1, but season 2's was fucking immaculate. Like, I remember saying, like, when I watched it and then when I talked about it afterwards, I was like, dude, I feel exhausted. Like, I don't drink, I don't smoke, but I could use a cigarette right now after watching that shit, because holy fuck. This one gives it a run for its money, though. So starting with episode 10, so it's Symphogear, so it's always easy to kind of remember what happens in an episode based on the boss fight at the end. Because usually around 16, 17 minutes into the episode, now you're going to have a fight for a few minutes. So episode 10 is the fight with Saint Germain. And there's one part in the episode that made me laugh really hard. And it's very early on where like the girls are all together and they're talking about how it's going to be Hibiki's birthday in 2 days. That's really important. But it's about to be Biki's birthday, and Aka's like, dude, it's going to be your birthday? That's so fucking cool. We got to celebrate. And Biki's like, I mean, we don't have to. I mean, there's a lot of shit going on right now. My birthday's not that important. Aka's like, no. It's your real, actual birthday. We have to do something special, which I don't remember when. It was a few episodes ago where you get a bit of a flashback where she's talking to Suku and she's like, yeah, like, I don't know when my birthday is. It might have actually been the previous episode. She's like, yeah, I don't know what my actual birthday is. The orphanage we consider my birthday the day I was adopted here. Like, I was taken in here. I don't actually know. But it's fine. It's okay. I don't really care. So hearing her say, like, it's your real birthday, I'm so excited, was really sweet and really sad at the same time. But what made me laugh is Chris says to Akka, she's like, you are so easygoing. Which, if you may or may not know, there is an anime called Garzy's Wing, which I did not think I would reference while talking about Symphogear. Garzy's Wing, particularly the dub, is regarded as, I can only describe it as the anime equivalent of The Room. I have seen other terrible anime. I've seen other enjoyably terrible anime. Shout out to Mars of Destruction if you've ever seen it. But Garzy's Wing has just like The Room, has so many weird lines of dialogue that are incredibly awkwardly delivered and is ridiculously quotable. My favorite, personally, is, what are you, a damn ghost? I don't know why. It cracks me up more than any other line, and there's some good ones. But one of the more famous ones, is our main character, Chris, is like, he's going to his high school reunion, and his girlfriend is like really mad at him. And so in the most like unnecessarily aggressive tone as he's driving off, goes, you were so easygoing. So hearing Chris say that, even just the fact that the commonality of someone named Chris is involved in the conversation, I got a really good laugh out of that. I had to shout that out. But Beaky and Akka go to fight Saint Germain, and just like how in the previous episode, there's that scene with Prelati where she's like, got the essentially like giving a toast to her dead friend. Saint Germain does the same thing, which like drops a couple flowers. I want to say they were irises. I'm not hondo on that, but they might have been irises. Just like dropping some flowers and memories of her friends. And again, like I love the companionship between the three of them. I thought it was really fucking sweet. So after that, fight ends up happening. Saint Germain is fully willing to sacrifice herself. Beaky doesn't want her to do that, and her stance is essentially, Saint Germain specifically, SG's, like, even if you're right and there is another way to do that, I have sacrificed way too many people, my two best friends included, for me to ever be able to stop what I'm doing. If I were ever to acknowledge that what you were saying is correct, it means that I have done countless untold fucking evil. And I kind of refuse to accept that. But the fight happens, Beaky and Akka win, and after the fight, Beaky being Beaky, outstretches her hand like, come on, like, let's stop this. You really don't seem like a bad person. And SG's kind of gonna accept it, and then Adam and Tiki show up. Adam starts saying some shit. I think around this point, Tiki starts getting powered up because they are using this might have been in episode 11. It's gonna get a little muddled at that point. But they're using all the powers of the ley lines to open, I don't even know, I guess like an astral gate or some shit to provide energy into Tiki so she can essentially become a god. It was also in this episode or the episode prior, I don't remember which, they talk about the possibility of a god killer. It's like, if they're going to become a god, we need some weapon that can do it. There's stories of that, but we're trying to do some research to find out about the god killer so we can have a chance. The episode ends with Adam going, hey, SG, so you know that thing where I said I'm trying to liberate humanity from control and that's why you want to work for me? Yeah, I remember that. Why do you bring it up? Fooled you! I'm not gonna do that. I want to rule all of humanity because humanity sucks and blah, 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 blah. You stupid idiot. And then SG's like, how could you do that? How could you lie to me? Fuck this shit. Now I want to kick your ass. And what I do kind of dig is she's like, I'm not necessarily the ally of the Symphogears. I think it is kind of her saying, like, kind of keeping with what she's saying, if I admit that what I'm doing is wrong, then I acknowledge all the sins I've committed, and I don't know if I can handle that. But I can still acknowledge that Adam is wrong, and in this case, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And I feel like that makes sense. Like, it doesn't just feel like some kind of tsundere shit of like, I don't want to be your friend. Like, don't get the wrong idea. We're not actually friends. Like, it feels a bit more interesting and kind of complex than that, and I really dug that. Also at that point, like, Tiki starts getting really overpowered and shoots a fucking hyper beam at them. It's like, that was cool. To which Akka uses her swan song, fucking blocks it by just spinning the scythe really fast, which I'm always a fan of that. Which was like a sword, like some kind of staff weapon, and just spins it really fast and deflects shit. I don't know why. I just dig it. And as Symphogear has taught me, something I already knew, I just like spinning. I like seeing cool spin moves. Like, again, anytime Tsubasa, like, does the handstand and starts fucking breakdancing, I think it's the coolest shit. And I think it did show up in, I think it was in episode 12. I saw her do it. I was like, yeah, that's my favorite attack. That's going on, and I feel like that was about the end of episode 10. So transition, episode 11 is the fight with Adam and Tiki. Oh, by the way, Adam is wearing clothes, which feels like a really weird thing to have to point out, but given how most of his scenes he's either just naked or very quickly gets naked, I feel like I actually have to point out he is wearing clothes throughout the entire climax. Even using his hat, there's a point where he just throws it at Beaky, it smacks her out of the air with this very audible clang. And it was just him throwing his hat and it doing damage, like, okay, like, that's pretty cool. It's like some James Bond shit. It was the sound that it made that got a big laugh out of me. So essentially the point, the thing they were trying to do is, we need to stop Tiki from becoming a vessel of God. That's going to be like, Adam is a problem. That's a problem. How do we deal with that? So, Oh, also, like, Akka used her swan song, so she's down from the count. So she gets down from the count, down for the count. So she just kind of gets evac'd out of there. Excuse me. While Beaky and SG are doing this fight. And it was either in this episode or the last episode, and I don't remember quite which, where they do some shit at, like, the ley lines and essentially close them down. So Tiki is unable to get the energy anymore. So Adam snaps his fingers, does some cool shit. Yeah, because I think that's what happens. I think it's in episode 10. Tiki is getting the energy, they shut it off. Then Adam shows up and he opens the portal. So what the portal is he literally uses the constellation of Orion the Hunter as a conduit for celestial energy, like energy from beyond the stars and the gods and shit. And that is going into Tiki. And SG literally points out at one point, it's like Adam is not doing crazy shit in the fight with us. Like, you know, he can throw a flaming hat at us that can make a very audible clang, but he can't, like, put his hands together, make a nuke, and then throw the nuke. I'm assuming, not even just assuming, it's like because of how I know the way alchemy works, he used way too much power to make that Orion shit. So, while he's still really strong, he's beatable. We need to just beat him and distract him long enough to take care of Tiki. So that's going on, and then about halfway through the episode or so, they fail. And Tiki goes full goddess. It's like, okay, here's like the big Evangelion angel form. And in its chest, there's this little crystal, and Tiki is in the crystal. And she's like, Adam, I did it. Can I give you a hug? No, my love. No, my dear. We have to destroy them all first. Okay. Starts hyper beaming shit. And we're like, what do we do against that? Because the other Symphogear users, I guess, this was something that I was a little confused about. So I guess because of their previous fights, they're just out of commission. I don't know if it's because of an effect with the Full Stone. I don't know if it's because just the Philosopher's Stone fucked with them so much. But essentially, it's like your gears are out of commission for a bit. Elf has to repair them. So it's just Beaky and SG. So while this is all going on, they do some further research into the God Killer, and they start talking about it like, okay, so what the God Killer is, it's this spear. Specifically, it's the spear that impaled Christ upon the cross. And it is not something that inherently has the power to kill a god. But because of the story of the Bible, because of how well known that moment is, it has the reputation of killing a god. And we're under paranoia agent rules, which I know I've said it on this channel. I love that kind of shit. Like, when something is believed by enough people to have this kind of power, it does have that kind of power. So this spear can literally kill a god. And the name of that spear is, say it with me, the Lance of Longinus. Because that's actually what the Lance of Longinus is. That was the name of that dude. He was Longinus. It was literally the lance or the spear of Longinus. That's where Ava gets that term from. And that's why it's the thing that fucks up angels, fucks up heavenly beings, because the thing that killed Jesus. But this is Symphogear. It's not the Lance of Longinus, you buffoon. Of course it's Gungar. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I mean, like, in the context of Symphogear, that makes more sense. It's incorrect, but fine. So it's Gungar. And it's like, oh, okay. So that's why when other characters are fighting things that... Oh, hear me. Like when Maria was fighting the dragon, she could do damage to it, but it could heal that damage. That's why I couldn't heal from Beaky, because she is the God Killer. I'm going to pause the video real quick. Sorry about that. Had some shit in my mouth I had to go spit out, and even I was like, I don't want to just like do that on camera. Anyways, so Beaky is the Gungar, she is the God Killer, that's why she can hurt the thing, because like SG is like blasting the super angel goddess thing, and it's like, oh, did some damage, heals it off. Oh, does some damage, heal it off. Beaky fucking punches off her arm. She can't heal that shit. You can't heal the God Killer. And Adam's like, fuck. I really didn't want you to figure that out. This is really why I wanted you guys to destroy the Symphogears, because of that. That is a problem. The reason I went and nuked that site is because that's where that information was, and I was really hoping they weren't going to learn that information. This isn't a complete L, but it's pretty close. Tiki? Come give Daddy a hug. So Tiki, like right before Beaky can deliver the final blow, Tiki, the little, like, crystal, busts out of the chest, leaving the angel to, like, dissolve into, like, a husk, and then all the god energy is in the air, and she goes to Adam to hug him. And I have to talk about something else that I forgot. It's one of my favorite parts of the episode. While fighting, Saint Germain nearly cuts his arm off. And it's not all the way off, but it's kind of dangling, like, barely connected by the fucking sinews. But the sinews are wires and metal and shit. You're like, oh, he's a robot, he's an autoscore, he's a doll. Which he's very offended by. That makes him fucking upset. So what he does is he rips his arm off, and it's, like, dangling like this. Then he smacks it against his head, and it gets really taut. And then he starts using his severed arm as a fucking weapon. And it was wonderful. I just remembered that. It's like, it's kind of important. I had to bring that up. So Tiki goes to hug him, and he, like, avoids her, steps on her, breaks her, and he's like, yeah, you stupid fucking annoying girl. I had to put up with you. I just needed you for this. You were going to be the vessel of the gods, but if you can't do it, I will fucking do it. And then he lifts up his arm and it starts glowing. He's like, I'm going to take the god energy. I don't remember what his last name is. It started like a T or something. He's like, I was Adam T, but now I will become Adam Cadmo. And I'm like, oh, I get that. Oh, that's bad. 'Cause I believe Adam, I'm not like super well versed in it, but I believe Adam Cadmon is not like Adam from the Bible, the original human. It's like the term for the light of creation or some shit. It is like so big tier powerful shit. And I'm like, that's a problem. But he's trying to absorb the god energy, and he can't because Beaky is absorbing it instead completely on accident. He's like, how? You literally can't do that because you're a human. And not like, you can't because it'll overpower you. It's like, no, you literally cannot. As a human, you are not a vessel for God energy. You are imperfect and tainted with original sin. Humans can't, like, it will not accept a human vessel. What the fuck is this? And everyone else watching is like, yeah, what the fuck is this? Beaky going, what the fuck is this? And then she's in a giant cocoon. And that's like how the episode ends. And I remember watching it, and when we got to the halfway point with Tiki in her new form, I was going, we're like 2 episodes early here. Because usually the final boss doesn't go into their, like, super crazy form until episode 13. Because, like, this is how it goes. This is how it works, Symphogear. Episode 12 starts with the ending theme, and it ends with the opening playing during, like, the end of that episode, or at least, like, during the credits. Episode 13, the final boss does a crazy transformation, and then the opening plays over the climax. Why is the final boss transforming now? How the fuck are we still gonna have 2 episodes? Like, okay. I guess this is how. What the fuck? So episode 12 is Beaky is in this giant cocoon that's, like, has roots in 2 other buildings and is, like, suspended. And it's been 2 days, so it is now her birthday. Happy birthday, Beaky. So, alright, brain stop for a second. So the members of Song are like, we need to get her out of there, and we don't fucking know how. Their plan is essentially, we're gonna inject the cocoon with a bunch of anti-linker to kind of turn her off of Gungar, and we're hoping that's kind of what'll get it done. We also brought in Miku to maybe be able to talk to her, like we'll project her over some loudspeakers, and we're hoping that the combination of the anti-linker and Beaky hearing her friend will kind of snap her out of it. But then Papa, old Subasa's grandpa, who I don't know if I mentioned showed up in an earlier episode, but he did, talks to Genjura, and he's like, okay, son, here's the thing. The United Nations is going to be coming into our country to deal with whatever this is. And I'm not going to let them. I don't want those fucking bastards getting the, like, mud of their shoes on my fucking soil. So here's what I'm gonna do. That thing, that cocoon, that problem, I'm taking care of it. Like, Dad, what do you mean? Like, we're taking care of it. Like, that's one of our people. I don't care. So he sends, like, a squadron of tanks that start shooting it. And then something hatches. So our boss of episode 12 is Beaky. In her giant Ava angel form, which I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just because of, like, I think it, like, kind of had her hair. There was something very monkey-like about it, but I kind of dug it. It was like this giant gray and red nasty thing fucking shit up. And it was pretty cool. So they send in the squad, and SG is also there to be able to kind of fight her, power her down, blah, blah, blah. There's literally a part where there's a bunch of tanks. They're like, you guys need to fucking leave. We're here under, like, Kazanari's orders. I believe Kazanari is the name of Tsubas's family. It's like, we're here on his orders. We don't listen to you. And then SG, like, cuts off the barrels of all the tanks and, like, no, you fucking leave now. So Song shows up, like, the girls are doing some fighting, and it's pretty cool. And they shoot a bunch of anti-linker at Beaky. They, like, hits her in the chest. The part I remember was specifically, like, it hit her in her ass, and, like, it specifically jiggled from the impact. It was like, guys, you don't have to try and, like, get fan service out of the giant Ava monster. What the fuck are you doing? It's kind of like that moment in Tales of the Abyss, like, at the very end, and right as you're about to go to the final phase of the final boss, there's just jiggle physics on tier, which from what I understand was not intentional. It's just kind of the way the engine was programmed. But it is like, you really didn't need that here. This definitely felt more intentional, but I got a laugh out of it. But that happens. Miku goes on the loudspeaker, talks to her for a bit, like, happy birthday. I miss you. I love you. I can't wait for you to come home. You're the most important person in the world to me. All that shit. And I don't want to be like, all that mushy bullshit no one cares about. I mean, it's like, just, I love it. I love Beaky and Miku. Again, I'm like, these two are just a married couple. They have been for a long time. It's lovely. And it does work. The combination of Miku and the anti-linker, and I would assume a bit, like, all her friends being there, is able to power Beaky down. And the UN says, cool. Oh, because I was telling Clay about all this shit after it happened, and I forgot what happens next. I just immediately skipped into, like, essentially the start of episode 13. But what happens next is, so the UN makes a vote to be like, okay, fine, you guys took care of the problem, we're not going to do anything. And then I don't know if they specifically said this was the US, I'm assuming this was the US, fires a nuke. To say, like, no, I don't trust it, fuck them, bang. Fires a nuke to go hit them. So as the nuke is on its way, they're like, what do? We can't intercept it fast enough. It's like, okay, if it hits, we're all dead. So we have to take care of it in the air. But if we take care of it in the air, we can't get to it fast enough. Like, the radiation is still going to affect the massive area and a bunch of people are going to fucking die. What do? So SG is like, okay, I will take care of this. So she goes into the air, she starts fucking flying, and is like, I'm going to do some alchemist shit and get rid of the nuke. And as she does it, it's like, she's singing, because it's Symphogear and her song is lovely. Her homegirls show up. We got Cagliostro, we got Prelati. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's SG and the Ghost Squad. Cool beans. But they are not ghosts. So Cags faked her death, which does make what she did make a lot more sense. Like, I am not going to fulfill this mission. I am not going to specifically die. I am going to make it look like I died so I can do some shit in the background. Makes total sense. And she's like, when Prel was about to die, I went in, grabbed her, got her out. Cool. So they're here. They're back with SG. And they're like, we've been doing research on the side, figure out ways like we could try and help. And this is now our time to shine. like we said, we're not here to support the Illuminati. We're not here to support Adam. We're here to support you. And this is when you need us most. So they're singing together. And the thing comes. Essentially what they did, I don't even know if they blew it. It's like they kind of like destroyed the nuke, and then the explosion was happening, and they did some shit to like contain the explosion, and it was starting to get too much for them to handle, but they were able to keep it from going anywhere. But all three of them did die. They gave up their life forces for it. So they did die. In a way, it's not like I was super laughing or giggling, because it's very much not a funny scene. But the idea of like, yeah, these characters that you thought were dead came back just to actually die. And saying it like that, like, yeah, that's a little silly. But it is still very effective. And I love the effect it had on Hibiki, who's seeing this, and she sees like this person that she's been trying to reach out to for like all season. Essentially, she was able to do it at the cost of that person's life. I remember her just like crying and slamming her fists on the ground. And it was something along the lines of, why does this kind of shit keep happening? Where it's like, I want to help people. Like, there was a chance, it's like, you're like, I want to save people, but all I can do is punch them. Like, all I can do is actually hurt people. And it's so frustrating. Why couldn't I save you? And then Adam shows up and he's like, ha! You guys forgot I was here, didn't you? Now I'm gonna become God! And he doesn't, because I don't think the God energy didn't go into him. I don't remember what happened to it. I think he just kind of dissipated, and he's like, well, okay. No more Mr. Nice Naked Man. Now he was still wearing clothes, but most of the time with Adam, he's naked. It's like, no more Mr. Nice Naked Man. The form I have now, this human-looking dude, the suave, smooth pimpin' daddy, I take this form because I don't want people to know what I am, that I am a doll, that I am this literally inhuman monster. But seeing as how y'all ruined everything, who gives a shit? So he goes into his final form. It's like, okay, now we're getting into the episode 13 final boss. Oh, also, thing I did notice, episode 12 did not start with the ending theme. It didn't show up until about halfway through the episode, but it still did eventually happen. And then at the end, it goes into the credits. So Symphogear things that are supposed to happen. But Adam does his transformation. He's this big devil, goat, cow monster thingy-lajig. And he just starts hauling ass. He's beating the shit out of everybody. So at this point, like, we're in episode 13. Like, he's super fast. He's punching people. There's a point where, like, he calls a phone because that's the thing he's been doing all season. I think it was Akka and Suku were like, huh? There's a phone here. Why the fuck is there a phone here? And he just punches them. They're like, oh, shit, he's playing dirty. What an ass. Like, this is all happening. They're fighting him. It's not going super well. Beaky is getting notably tired because while everyone else is, like, their Symphogears essentially have been, like, cleaned and maintained, hers hasn't. And she's essentially been in her gear for like 2 straight days with, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes out of it. So she's getting exhausted, but there's a thing, he fires the, like, hyper beam or something. She makes an AT field. They all get together. I think they, like, she sings her swan song, and everyone gets a power-up because Symphogear season finale. You gotta get your power-ups. So they're getting the power-ups. They're fighting back. Things are going pretty well. And then that's when Beaky, like, essentially starts to collapse from exhaustion. And all her friends, reach out to her. They're like, Tachibana, hey, Beaky. And then their gears leave them and surround Beaky. And then she's got, like, this kind of rainbow armor and then just starts doing their shit. She has, I think, like, one of Sub's sword beams. She starts riding the buzzsaw. I think she shoots, like, some of Akka's, like, little, like, green curved blades at people. I don't remember what she did for Maria. And then, yeah, I'll get to what she did for Chris. But she starts doing that, and of course I immediately thought of Captain Planet. It's like, all your powers combined. Now you got, like, Super Beaky. But now Super Beaky is going, like, kind of kicking Adam's ass. Then we get to... Well, okay, not quite. Then he grabs her, like, gets both hands around her. Chris is like, use my... I don't remember what it's called, like, armor burst or some shit, which she does. Flings the armor off of her, gets her out of Adam's hand. So now she's, like, on his arm. And this is one of my favorite scenes in the entire show. This moment, was so, I believe at this point, like, you know, the opening's been playing for a while. Like, the opening is on full blast at this point. It's this moment right here that makes me go, this might be my favorite climax in Symphogear to this point. Where she is running down Adam's arm to go to his shoulder so she can punch him in the face. So she's dispersed her armor, so she's in just her normal clothes. And as she's running, she's like, you know what? I am exhausted. I am not doing okay. But I have God Killer powers. I just have to hit him. If I can get one good hit, it's over. So she just pulls out her necklace, clutches it tightly. And normally in Symphogear, to transform, you sing ba 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 ba, and then transformation happens. Instead, while she's running down his arm and Adam's trying to grab her, she is screaming like on the top of her lungs, like she's in a Gurren Lagann episode. She is screaming her incantation. So he goes to grab her, his arm like, you know, goes around her as like she's encased by light. She breaks out of it in this golden armor. It looks sick as hell. Flies up to him and goes, Ora! Punch! Ora! Punch! Ora! Like she is literally doing a JoJo shit. She is yelling, Ora, Ora, Ora. And then the way it's framed is like, punch, 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 and it's showing her face as she's moving, and then her fist just beating the shit out of him. And I have to say, Clay and I are literally watching Stone Ocean. And so just seeing some actual JoJo shit while he and I had been watching JoJo was so satisfying. And then she's literally punching Adam like into the stratosphere. And I don't remember what he said, but it was some shit like, humanity is so fucked. Like, man, I guess it is what it is, but you guys are fucked. Oh, there's a part, I don't remember at one episode, he starts talking about the custodians, which I guess are the people that built him. I don't really know what these are. I don't know if these are just like the head, like the super heads of the Illuminati. They're like super alchemists, if they're fucking aliens or some shit, because again, he drew power from the stars. So I'm kind of hoping the villains of season 5 are going to be aliens. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it sounds kind of dope. But, you know, Beaky beats the shit out of him. She fucking kills him. I don't remember exactly what happened after that. But essentially the rest of the episode, it's her birthday party. They throw a big shebang. Like, most of her friends are there. And, like, the Beef Stroganoff girls were there. And I was like, have you been in season 4? Is this... And it's like, okay, like, there have been, like, a couple scenes of Beaky in school. They've maybe been in the background, but have they actually been in season 4? I'm not sure. She's having a really good time with her friends. She has a nice conversation with Miku, because all of her conversations with Miku are just nice. They're lovely. They're sweet. About how they'll always be there for each other and stuff like that. And they mention how Elf9 is specifically not at the birthday party. So the end of the episode is Elf9 back at Song HQ with Genjuro. And he's like, yeah, you know, like, I kind of wish you would just, like, gone to her party. Like, no offense. Like, not just, like, we hate you having here or anything. Or it's just, like, you know, like, you've been working really hard. She's like, yeah, but that shit that Adam said about, you know, like, human original sin and whatever, it's got my brain working. Because, yeah, how the fuck is Beaky able to use God energy? So I looked it up. It, like, do you remember back in season 2, like, when I wasn't in the show yet, and, like, she had that fight with Miku, and Miku had, like, that, like, really special, like, the Mewtwo Frieza Symphogear? Yeah. So, the best I can understand it is the literal light of her attacks, of her fucking lasers, and, like, I don't super remember the explanation, but it was, like, essentially, it purified both of them. It made Beaky... Like, it purified her of original sin. It also just made her naturally way more compatible with Symphogears and, like, with the Gungear specifically. Which I guess it is, like, that's the technical reason why she was able to take Maria's Gungear. And also it did the same for Miku. And that's just how the season ends, with a very notable, like, to be continued at the end. So the idea seems to be that Miku will probably be a full Symphogear user in season 5. And yeah, that was the end of season 4. So I have said, in between, like from season 1 to 2 and 2 to 3, that every season has just gotten better. I don't know if I like season 4 as much as season 3. It's fantastic. I really liked it. Like, please do not misunderstand that. But I'm like, I definitely like what they did with Chris in season 4 more than season 3. I liked what they did with Tsubasa in season 3. Like, I thought the relationship with her family was really interesting. And in season 4, she just wasn't doing much. She was just kind of chilling. Which, granted, it's like she's kind of had her character. She's just being the mentor. I thought it worked well. I like what they did with Maria in season 3 as well as season 4. I didn't love her at the end of her character being like, oh yeah, it's okay that mom like treated me like complete dog shit. Because it's how you make a good tomato. Like I like what you're going for here. Maybe went a little too far in that direction. But it's also kind of like in season 3, it's like, I loved Hibiki's relationship with her dad and how negative it was. But then by the end, where she's like, no, you were with me the entire time. I didn't really like that conclusion to that arc either. With the antagonists, I definitely liked the Alchemists in season 3 more than season 4. I still liked them in season 4. Like, I liked SG and her girls. I loved their companionship. And, I mean, I've said it several times, I really like Hag's design. Like, if I'm being honest. But I just love the look of the auto scores. I love the way they fight. I love how threatening they felt. I love how just in control they felt. And I liked Carol's motivation. It is just like, yeah, I want to blow up the world, but it is, the world took my father from me. I never forgave them for that. And I also like Elf9 a lot. I like her in both seasons a lot. I maybe like her a little bit more in season 4. Now it's just, she is a part of the team and she's like the technical person on the squad. I like it a lot. But I like her relationship with Carol in season 3. Here's the version of Carol who said, Dad wanted me to learn about the world. And I took that to mean exactly how he intended it. He wanted me to really understand what life is and the beauty in the world. Whereas the other version said, the only way for an alchemist to learn is to dissect and truly understand how something works, and that's what I'm going to do. I am taking it to its most illogical, insane interpretation possible. Because even though I know that's not what he wanted, it's how I want to interpret it because of how much anger I have, which I do find really interesting. The season 4 villains, I like I said, I do still like them. I do like SG. Adam is fine. He just never really did it for me, although he has his moments. Again, just ripping his arm off and then using it as a weapon. I thought that was cool. But it's also like the first time he shows up, he fucking nukes an area. And then afterwards, like, no, he's used too much power. He's not doing that anymore because our characters can't beat that. So they had to significantly depower him. So it was like, alright, it kind of took me out of it. I never liked Tiki. I just thought she was super fucking annoying. But holy shit, the climax is way better. I think the climax in season 3 is fine. I think like the fights throughout the season are better than the ones in season 4. But man, season 4 delivered at the end. So, which season do I prefer? I think I would still say GX over AXZ. But AXZ does have some very good arguments. I would probably still put it above G, although I still do like G. And I think season 1 is the weakest. But now there's one more. Symphogear AXZ, which I won't start today. maybe tomorrow I'll watch like the first episode or two, for sure on Friday. I'm on the one hand, I'm really looking forward to it. It's like, all right, cool, more Symphogear. Apparently, this is the best season. Let's go. Let's see how it ends. And the other part of me is like, I don't want to watch it because I don't really want Symphogear to end. I'm having way too much fun with this shit. I'm gonna be pretty sad when I don't have new Symphogear episodes. But that's all for this one. I'll see you guys tomorrow for Car Talk Thursday. Or Room Talk Thursday, because, it's really fucking hot in August.